From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
We will continue with phone calls in this fourth and final hour. Thank you for joining us. We have economist and, of course, doctor of history, Webster Griffin Tarpley, joining us. He's one of our regular guest analysts here. We will also get to at least Jimmy, Matt, George, Brad, Blue Dove, and a few others that are holding in this hour. But I wanted to first get into the economy with Webster. Then we'll get his take on the Gaza flotilla and what he believes from his research is really going on there. Though it may be too soon to tell, but we're getting a clearer and clearer picture on that. We do have members of the Israeli Knesset coming out, and that's up on prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. Key article by Steve Watson. Israel Knesset member, Israel wanted high number of fatalities. That was said in the Knesset. The same member is saying that 5 minutes before the boarding of the main ship, a converted cruise ship under a Turkish flag, that the Israelis were firing not just tear gas and rubber bullets and flashbangs, but actual lead rounds. So that is coming up. And we will also, with Webster Tarpley, get into the North Korean peninsula. Wayne Madsen and many others who I respect believe that it's a German torpedo from the blueprints compared to the guts of the torpedo that survived, some of the remnants. And this is a false flag focused at Japan, who's trying to kick U.S. forces out right now. But all of the analysts, whether it's Dr. Paul Craig Roberts or Gerald Celente or myself or Webster Tarpley, all of our experts and the RAND Corporation's own statements 2 years ago have stated to get their world government, to have the banking cartel be able to successfully submit their power and get away with the robberies they've committed during this global meltdown, they're going to need a new war as the political smokescreen so the public gets scared and rallies around the flag, which the bankers will wrap themselves in like a enchilada or something. So we're going to discuss that with Webster as well. But here's some of the financial headlines. Euro to go under $1.20 almost certainly, lowest in 4 years. Volatility to dominate stock markets in June. Spain loses its AAA rating, meaning they'll have to pay more to the private bankers for their already out-of-control debts. California talking about losing its rating. Many counties already have. The U.S., Moody's saying pretty much certain will lose its AAA rating. You've just got every economic number coming in. Here's another one. Poll finds debt-dogged Americans are stressed out. The economy trudges ahead, yet debt dogs many Americans, stressing them out even as they firm up their own financial foundations. So you've got the spin there. Real unemployment upwards of 23%. They claim 9.8. All the economic numbers, and you're out there in the real world, folks, you see them, show that things are just deteriorating and that we're in a depression. Well, the media keeps saying, no, this is a recovery because the big central banks and J.P. Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, the zombie banks, they're all making record profits. So the whole world is gauged by how they're doing. So let's get into that first, because I saw Tarpley on international television over the weekend. We had it up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And I saw the news anchor report that Tim Geithner has announced that China has to find a new trading partner because the U.S. public and private debt is so maxed out that U.S. citizens won't be a market for them in the future. I mean, that's like saying we're dead on arrival. Now, even if that was true, which globalization and NAFTA and GATT has caused by design, I mean, this was always the plan, why announce it? And say, you better have Europe as your trading partner when they're even, according to the numbers I've seen, in the same or greater debt on a nation-by-nation basis. It varies, but overall about the same level as the United States. So why is Geithner running around? Well, I sure enough did a lot of searching and found a video clip of it and a French news agency report where he was quoted as saying U.S. consumers are going to be less a source of demand in the world in the future. So this is the statement of these Malthusian individuals where they state we want a post-industrial United States. So let's talk about the state of the world economy, because we've gotten almost a fatigue. So have I. I've just become comfortable now at a subconscious level. You know, humans are like that. We're resilient. If we're around bad things or around bad news, we tend to get calloused mentally to it. And now me and my wife are resigned. Okay, it's going to be an ongoing depression. Things are going to get 10 times worse. Our children have no future. Everything's going to collapse. If we want to fly, the naked body scanners, where they now admit they record your genitalia and laugh at you and put it on government databases, they now admit that. They don't care. The government is going to raise our taxes to give it to foreign banks. And so we're just sitting here basting in the evil, and the rest of the world has gotten to this point, but there is resistance mounting. So there's my rant. Let's go to economist Webster Tarpley to get his breakdown on all these facets that I've thrown out. But A, what does it mean when Geithner, Tiny Tim, comes out and announces to China, hey, America is sunk?
Well, we first of all have to recognize that Geithner has many sides to his mouth, and he talks out of all of them more or less at the same time. We cannot approach a serious analysis of the world economy through the various lies and tricks and swindles that Geithner comes up with, because on this last trip, which took him to China, then to Britain, then to Germany, he had about half a dozen or a dozen cheap parlor tricks, I guess we can say, that he tried to pull. I think that the basic reality is that we're in a world economic depression of cataclysmic proportions. We're now in the second phase. This depression, from a historical point of view, is behaving very much like the depression of 1929, 1931, 1933. We're about a year and a half into the acute phase of the depression. And just like in 1931, when we had the banking crisis in Europe, the second phase of the Depression is the collapse of Europe. That was true in the period between May and September of 1931, the bankruptcies of Austria, Germany, and then the Bank of England. The British did default. The British did go bankrupt, quite contrary to things that you'll see that they haven't gone bankrupt since 1672. They did. And that was the second round of the World Depression. That, in those days, led then into a banking panic here in the United States, which shut down every bank, which followed really less than half a year after that. So we're in the collapse of Europe phase. Now, it's a depression. It's a disintegration. This is not a market event in the sense of a business cycle or anything of the sort. It's an emergency of world civilization. And it has to be fought with a recovery program.
Yeah, and I know you always want to get into your recovery program. We'll do that before you leave, but